Do we hear as well?
Yeah, definitely. So I think we're live. Hello, everyone, for joining us. How's everyone doing today? Ran, how you doing?
I'm well. I'm well.
Good. Good to hear it.
Where do we see the
video? I don't think it's played, but that's okay.
No, where do we see the
Everyone is looking for the right one. You know exactly what's right for you. In your mind, you are perfectly aware of your needs. You can picture the perfect dynamic and the ultimate flow, but all these variables make it tricky to find the right one. Fret not, for there is a matching service like no other. Say hello to Bridger Connections. It is now easier than ever to find the perfect processing match for your online store. Tell Bridger Connections your expectations and let our data-driven engines find you the perfect payment service provider to satisfy your needs. No strings attached. You can contact the payment service provider directly, or if you're feeling a little shy, BridgerPay's experts can help you spark a connection. Vibe check. Explore the scene with Bridger Connections for a match paid in heaven.
Nice. A little update from us on what Bridger Connections actually is, huh?
Yeah, what a video.
Yeah, nice. I liked it. Cool. So, Ran, I want to start off. I want to talk about our values a little bit. I want to get into why you decided to spend so much time, energy, resources towards building the connections page in the first place.
So, I think when we start speaking about connection, you want to go to the presentation, maybe?
Definitely. Give me a second.
And I think we have also some people joining us.
We do have extra people joining us. Nice. So let's have a little touch on our values and exactly why you spent so much time and effort on the connections page in the first place.
So connection is more than a page. It's a complete engine.
Definitely.
And I think that what we've saw from the first moment we opened the product to clients and started getting more and more clients into Bridger, we saw that they come to us
with the same problems, right?
With the same problem of finding them different and more solutions to the one they are already using today. And each one of them is a different client. Each one of them is a different profile. We already spoke about it
completely in a separate industry, and they need a whole sort of engine basically to find something that matches their business needs, right?
Right. And that's what we've started to do, but in our minds.
Yes. Okay.
So we had, our success teams that work with our, from one side, that were connecting different payment providers into the ecosystem of Bridger and the layer of technology that we have in Bridger. And from the other side, speaking with the clients and introducing them to different payment providers that fit their needs, and also a lot of time, sending different clients to different payment providers that they would never approve or never.
Basically setting up multiple applications,
right? But then you learn.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess the difference with actually having a search engine as opposed to it being in our minds is the fact that it's only in one person's mind, really, isn't it? So the search engine, it means it's like all of everyone's minds combined, basically, huh?
And you put it on a code that can allow people to use this data that we gathered both in our minds and in our inner system in Bridger, and basically start providing it back to businesses, giving them an unrestricted access to an engine that will allow them to slice and dice whatever they want to, or their profile of business, and find their payment providers. And the whole idea is to really take it from our minds and inner platform, in-house technologies that we use here, and give it back to the merchants.
To the merchant, exactly.
That's a big part of our values.
In fact, I do want to touch on how we actually came to a point of being able to build this engine. But before we do, I want to actually quickly touch on it for everyone that's watching. What kind of merchants can we support with this type of engine?
Well, this engine support any merchant.
Okay.
Any merchant that
So just
that
like
today,
Bridger that can support any merchant, this engine is also the search engine for any merchant to be able to find the correct processor, basically.
yeah, and if you didn't find yourself inside the verticals that we offer there, it means that most likely you are in a type of industry that is pretty much unprocessable. But 95% of the verticals and are inside our engine and already there, where this engine is obviously a growing product and a growing database of payment providers and capabilities. So every time you come in and filter again, you will get also better and new results. And this is something we work on very hard.
That's actually something I can speak for myself, as I'm the one that's actually starting to handle these relationships with the PSPs. That definitely we're trying to update as frequently as possible, which means constantly having catch-up calls with PSPs. PSPs nowadays, the infrastructure of, let's say, the payment world is always changing. So every PSP, eventually has an update in their product. So it's something that we're chasing constantly to catch up with.
New sub-product capabilities.
The trends right now are APMs, so like we see that lots of processors are starting to add APM products to their, CC solution, for example.
Definitely, because credit cards is obviously not enough. People want to acquire in different methods.
Yeah.
If they could acquire different methods directly from that payment provider because they're still in low volumes and that's great for them, then and easy for them and accessible, then why not? And yes, you can start now adding different alternative payment methods through the same gateways that you used to process credit cards before.
Exactly. Yeah.
And each payment provider is increasing its capabilities, so the engine is not only growing with payment provider, but also with the payment provider inside the engine and their capability.
Evolving, basically.
But I think the challenge was to take this data that is in everybody's minds, and put it inside an engine that every business can come in, search, find their own payment providers, and start this relationship to generate this processing account so that they can.
Again, something I can touch on from my experience as well with handling with hundreds of PSPs. It's, as you said, it's a challenge to be able to funnel that down to one specific engine. It's a huge challenge. But yeah, on top of that, I mean, what I like the most about it is the fact all of the benefits that come with it, the time-saving benefits, the simplicity involved. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure every one of our users or viewers as well right now that are watching understand exactly all of the challenges that merchants are facing when they're looking to connect to PSPs. But Ran, I want to ask you, what do you think is going to be or is the most common or the most frustrating challenge that a merchant has right now today when they want to connect to another PSP to look to scale their business?
Well, again, each business today, when he's going to and approaching a payment provider, needs to think about a few basic things. First of all, his vertical, the ecosystem that he's in, and the type of risk category that he is allocated to. If it's a low risk or a high risk client, so for example, you could have businesses that you would say that you would think they are low risk, but payment providers are still looking at them as high risk. Even airlines can be considered in travel, can sometimes in some cases can consider a high risk. Obviously, if you have if you're shipping your product directly to the client, then the product becomes less virtual.
Okay. Yeah.
So when the product that you're selling is not virtual, your risk category is going down, and you should know where you are, because in the end it's completely different type of payment providers. It's a different world of commissions that you would need to pay.
And it's kind of funny how the merchant being able to categorize themselves in which industry they're in is a challenge in itself sometimes, like which risk factor do they fall under? The high, the medium, the low?
Yeah, but we encompass that, I think,
We'll actually do a demonstration. We'll show just how easy it is. As you said, yeah, we encompass it and make it extremely simple, basically.
Because in the end, you really, like you say, you don't need to know your risk category, but you do need to know what you're selling, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So once you know what you're selling, you know where's your entities created, and
the only other side of that is actually, now that we know what we're selling, we need to know which PSPs can support what we're selling, which
PSP can support what we're selling to our type of company.
Yes,
which means if I'm based in the UAE, or if I'm based in the US, or if I'm based in Europe, it will be different payment providers and acquirers that would support me. If I'm a startup, if I'm already processing for a while, it would be different payment providers. So there are many different factors. We will go later on inside and see it, but there are many different factors that you can slice, that in the end find you the right payment providers that are most suitable to your business. Most likely you don't obviously need all of them. You can apply to the one that you feel that you're comfortable with, find the best offers that you want, and get them connected. In the end, the freedom is in your hands. You have a very filtered list of the payment providers.
That's a key point there, isn't it? That the freedom is in your hands, isn't it? The ability that BridgerPay offers is leaving like the merchant to have everything in their hands if they want to. But also on the other side, merchants can have the full support of every single department in BridgerPay to facilitate them even further, right? For example, as you said, using the example of startups, startups may not be, let's say, as familiar in the payment industry, right? Or the payment world. So having that extra support from BridgerPay, it's an extra layer of benefit basically for the merchant, isn't it?
It's an extra layer of technology that provides a lot of benefits and creates a lot of impact on the bottom line.
Yeah.
Of the business, both in more revenues and more conversions.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see what else we got. So giving power back to the merchant. I mean, we have basically touched on some of this, but again, as I asked you what the biggest challenge merchants face right now, we know that that's basically the tediousness with all of these applications and trying to manage the whole process of it all. It just blows your mind sometimes. It's so exhausting and so time wasting, inefficient, let's say. But what would you say is the best benefit that Bridger Connections gives to all types of merchants?
I think it's the time.
Save you time. Yeah, exactly.
Applying to the wrong payment providers is painful.
Especially as sometimes you could even have, let's say, an introduction call with that payment service provider. There will be multiple layers before you actually understand that they can't work with you. So you wasted all of those time, all of that, meeting time.
Definitely.
When with connections, it's just straightforward, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think as better we get this engine, the better the clients would get a very precise mix of payments.
Yeah,
and that's our goal.
By the way, let's just throw it out there that if anyone does have any questions, by all means, feel free. You can put it in the chat. We'll be more than happy to answer. And we do actually, I think, have a poll as well. It'll be interested to get your feedback on the poll that we've got. It's basically, how would you prefer to find a payment service provider suitable for your business? There's 3 options. Check it out. Let's see what your results are. Yeah. Cool. So moving on from that, anything else you want to add about the benefits that we have? The benefits that we provide?
We can ask the people, that our audience.
Definitely.
What are your challenges in finding your payment providers, and how do you cope with them?
That's an excellent question.
And how do you find a payment provider today? So that's something that would be very interesting to hear from you.
Definitely curious to find out about it.
Because in the end, that's what are we trying to do? We are trying to save them our clients' time.
Exactly.
We're trying to find them to get to the point that the fit is much in a much higher rate, than the one-on-one requests.
See, one thing about all of this that on my perspective, the way that I look at it is e-commerce is booming, right? We know that e-commerce is absolutely booming, which, as you said, when you're selling an actual physical product, the risk factor is extremely low. But now that e-commerce is booming and people are starting to sell online, the risk factor straight away goes up. So it puts it in that intermediate category, let's say, where
and suddenly, even if you're in e-commerce but you're a startup, it's not that easy.
yeah,
And it's not like it was before, but still, there are a lot of payment providers. We are connected to hundreds and hundreds of payment providers and methods in the connections in Bridger, in our ecosystem.
Hundreds, actually, and that's growing
obviously
on a
there are
daily
also
basis at this point, to be honest with you,
on
as well.
connection engine, and from all of them and from this amount of variety, and we are adding 8 a month.
In
So
some cases more, some cases less, but yeah,
that's
on average,
something that grows from month to month, and giving the user much more freedom to choose. Because in the end, there's a lot of merchants that knows different payment providers, and they have relationships with some of them if they are local, especially if they are local. And when you give someone or a business payment providers that in the end he knows they are from his neighborhood, something that he understands, then it's much easier for him to come in and
feel comfortable. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's another point I wanted to make about connections. That it's not only the PSPs that we're integrated with that we're keeping on our connection search engine. It's also PSPs that we're not necessarily integrated with, but we're starting to build a relationship with. So merchants, let's say if they prefer, the on-demand, exactly. So if merchants prefer the services of an on-demand PSP that we're not directly integrated with, it means that we do have that relationship foundation being built.
I would say that
So we can
50% of the payment providers that we're adding are coming from on-demand. They're coming from our
merchants
from our clients,
specifically requesting to have
to add them into Bridger and to the ecosystem. Again, why are we doing it? Why are we creating a search engine and not just taking the application or taking our clients, documentation and application and start applying them ourselves? That's also, a good question. And I think it's a part of the values. We go back to the beginning. We built here a neutral layer.
Yes.
A part of being neutral is to let you as a business decide who you are going to work with.
Exactly. You're not going to be restricted by anything.
I'm not going to decide for you.
Exactly.
I'm not a part of the commercial between you and the payment provider. Any settlement that goes from the payment provider would come directly to the business. So as Bridger acts only as the technological layer above all of it to enable this connection and to enable the automation of the payment flow, but we did want to facilitate the connections between the merchants and the payment providers. Absolutely. So our users and our clients would be able to
take the benefit of
connecting more and more providers into their checkout, getting more approval ratios, getting more transactions completed. And I think that's what the goal, that's the goal, both of us and our merchants together.
The value that always stands out to me, Bridger value that always stands out is giving power back to the merchants. It's a very nice sentence that I really like, that I think sums up basically everything that you're saying there, isn't it? That we can allow for merchants to completely have full control on their side, but also have the support from us. Let's see.
That he just asked us the same thing.
It's your KYB information to the PSP in order to reduce the onboarding time. We've just had the same question basically.
So yes, we don't, and that's and the reason we don't is like specifically what we said. In the end, your package to the payment provider would be the same package you would send, for example, Bridger. What we do for the enterprise users or enterprise clients for Bridger is a process of pre-approval.
Yes, okay.
So when our clients come to us and ask us to introduce them more and more payment providers, they can obviously go to the connection engine and do it there. But our success managers can also
provide that extra support,
provide the extra service and give you basically a pre-approval process to the payment providers,
directly to the
filtering with you with the connection engine, the payment providers. And basically we go to the payment providers and submit you as a business, but without all the KYC and KYB information, just as a business. Once the payment provider is letting us know that he would accept you as to provide you services, then we do the introduction. So you're actually speaking with payment providers that already pre-approved you.
Yes.
Again,
so you know
under the
that
terms,
they can work with you,
Yeah,
not wasting the time on those
exactly.
applications. In fact, we can touch on the merchant profile that our success team send to PSPs in a minute. Actually, we can do a demonstration and we can actually show our viewers here what it's like. Let's go for it. Why not? So let's see what we've got here. Bear with me. This is our connections page. Let's actually share the screen and let's do a demonstration. Yeah,
Sure.
cool. And again, let's feel the need to ask any questions, guys. By all means, let us know. So let's see. I think we've got a little bit of a slow connection, but cool. So our new connections page, huh? How about that? All right. So Ran, first of all, I want to process where? Personally, I think I want to process worldwide. Yeah, sure. Let's see. A little demonstration for everyone to understand just how simple it is.
Make something a bit more, filtered. Let's say I want to process in Asia.
Yeah, sure. If you want, let's do that. Why not? SEA.
Yeah, Southeast Asia.
Let's say credit card.
Definitely.
Cool. Now, I think we spoke about e-commerce, so maybe let's stick to the e-commerce, right? Let's say I'm based in the EU. That could be quite challenging to be able to, I guess, holding a license at this point is not.
You don't need.
Yeah, we don't need. Let's say I want to be providing a 3 to 6 month processing history.
So I'm not a startup, basically.
I'm not a startup. No, definitely not.
Right.
But we can. We could even use this to filter for startups, as you can see there. And then next up, I'm processing between 50 and 250 grand. Again, the legal entity type is not necessary at this point. And you can see as we go along, it actually starts to bring up suggestions, right? Which let's just click on anyone you choose, Ran. Which one would you like?
So what I'm seeing Stripe and virtual and emergent pay and eCompay. So eCompay, for example.
Let's go for eCompay. So straight away, you're given all the information about the PSP. So again, this is something that we're always building to maintain that relationship with eCompay, for example, to constantly update this page, as well as, informing our success team, for example, so everyone is in the loop and understanding exactly.
So basically, I can process with them in all those locations.
Let's say straight away now, of course, I want to get introduced with eCompay through BridgerPay, right? The reason why I want to be doing that is because I understand as the merchant that you guys, BridgerPay, have got an established relationship with eCompay, right?
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and add my email address, matthew.b@bridgerpay.com, because hopefully the fact that you already have a relationship with eCompay is going to speed the process up for me, right?
It should do.
So let's go. Again, I think our internet connection's a little bit slow, but boom, a little celebration to explain that the introduction has been made. Now, I think it's probably important as well at this point to maybe show the kind of introductory email that's been sent, right? So let's stop sharing.
So basically at that point, a mail has been sent both to the
user
and
basically at that point
to eCompay,
and this is the kind of email that they're receiving, right? This is actually sent to BridgerPay, eCompay, and the merchant. Yeah, now we stop sharing. We're just on the email itself. So it's like, hi, this is Matt from BridgerPay. Would like to introduce you to a merchant. Please pick up the conversation from here. All right. So it's only at the moment a short introduction. Okay. But at this point, what we're actually experiencing and seeing right now is that PSPs straight away are getting in contact in this email that's being sent, getting in contact with the merchant, and we're there in the background to monitor the conversation, step in if needed, let's say. So I like it. It is, let's say, as I said, the first draft that we've created of this. The second draft that we're looking at is on the right. You can see the merchant profile. So in order to speed the whole process up and avoid that one extra email that's sent of, oh, please send me all of your processing information and all of the information that's needed to be able to do the pre-approval as we spoke about earlier, we are going to be adding, very soon, I know the task has already been made, but very soon the whole merchant profile as well.
Wow. And that's something we saw from the first connections we start doing through the connection engine.
Exactly, yeah. So what we're understanding is, hey, yeah, love to work with you. Please give us
give me more
give us more information. Of course, the way that the search engine works, we know on our side.
Yeah, what's the information?
But what the information is. So we, again, it's a work in progress. It's something that's consistently going to be evolving, which is why we're going to be adding that extra merchant profile just to speed up the process, which I think is going to benefit merchants beyond belief. Basically, it's that extra email, but you don't lose the excitement of it, do you? The PSP is excited, the merchant's excited, you get a response straight away. Yes, I can work with you. Amazing, cool. Let's get on the call. Let's have an introduction. Let's move it forward as quickly as possible, basically, isn't it?
So if we speak about what is connection engine, then I think that in the end it's a way for you to get in touch and start communication with the right PSPs and the right payment methods to your type of business.
Yes.
In your region, for the regions that you want to process in.
It's cutting through all of the above that can't work with you and getting you directly in contact with the ones that you can.
Right, and then I think the automation process is allowing the communication channel to start, and basically businesses are today very much aware of these processes and are moving through it and getting to the finish line and getting processing accounts, connecting them and start.
And that's one thing that I noticed as well. PSPs want to be speeding up this process themselves. So it's something we briefly spoke about before, how nowadays it's not just done via email, it's also introductions can start to be done via Skype or Slack, or other communication channels, which in some respects can actually be more efficient and more quicker, So we're noticing that some PSPs are like, hey, is there a quicker way to do this? And we're like, yeah, absolutely. We're happy.
There's so many ideas how to enhance this engine.
It's the beginning of
the beginning.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the beginning. But yes, it's already giving a lot of freedom to our clients and to anyone else who wants to use this engine, because it's an open engine and you don't need to register, you don't need to open an account or be a live paid client with Bridger.
One thing as well that I've been asked a few times as well is that how can the merchant, let's say, trust that the results are accurate?
Well, first of all, regardless of the fact that we have a full team that is working together with both clients and payment providers and updating the engine, but it's also something that will read a lot from the data that we have in Bridger and will update the engine automatically. That's a part of the work that we have on the back. That engine, it's great, I think that payment providers are telling us that they are amazing.
See, this is
sometimes
another thing that
different places.
Yeah, this is.
But we also want to show it from our data.
Yes.
So we would start adding to the engines also part of the metrics that we see.
Yeah.
So not only the payment providers you match, but also what are the metrics, if it's approval ratio that we see in Bridger, etc.
That just takes it to another level.
That can also help you, get to some kind of a decision.
On specifically what you
want.
You're an enterprise. You want to reduce your rates, let's say. But one thing as well to add to that how merchants are able to trust that it's accurate is that we have the PSPs checking this. So like.
Definitely.
The PSPs are making sure that the information that's there, of course, they want to be having as much coverage as possible, right? So,
but from the other side, they don't want to get clients that
they can't work with. Yeah, exactly. It defeats the object, right? So
I think it's in the best interest, for everyone to keep their profile updated.
Absolutely.
And we give them that ability, and
Yeah, absolutely. Again, guys, any questions on how it works? I mean, feel free. You can actually go now, check it out, see how easy it is, and yeah, that's pretty much it, basically. I don't know if there's anything that you want to add since we're at this point.
Look, I think we spoke about the why and the process of building it and what that what connection is all about and what it does for you.
Yeah, and even facilitates merchants to have that head start, isn't it? So it doesn't matter if you are a startup or an enterprise, you can still have a head start in that country you want to be processing in,
Exactly, and I think from our side, the big impact that it creates is it gives us another layer of neutrality.
Yeah.
Another agnostic level of relationship between our clients and the merchant and the PSPs. From our side as Bridger, we only care about our merchants, and we obviously care about their business and the fact that they would process more from month to month and with a higher approval ratio.
Yeah, exactly.
And with a larger transaction amount and with a lower abandonment rate from the checkout. So these are the things that are important to us, and adding more payment providers helps a lot of those metrics.
Yeah.
And we see that the ability to place the right payment provider in the right country, both if it's an alternative payment methods, open banking platform, buy now, pay later,
even crypto,
e-wallet, crypto, it doesn't really matter. And obviously, to keep a level of redundancy between different credit card providers and not always to be relying on one.
Exactly.
That's a very basic part of Bridger, and I think Connection facilitate this very
definitely well. So it's literally giving a head start and power back to the merchant, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and we do it through the product, and it's both enhancing our product and enhancing our clients' capability. We have a question from Celine.
A quick question. Yeah, one. Is the PSP going to reply to the same email chain received from BridgerPay's automated email? Yes. So they are replying to that same chain of emails. This was something that we spoke about as well, how we're even talking about different communication channels that can be implemented in this in order to speed the process up, as emails nowadays are not necessarily the fastest means, right? And what is estimated time to be contacted from the PSP? So again, that depends on every single PSP. Everyone's going to be different, but one thing that we are trying to maintain in our relationship is that PSPs understand that we want to create a fast response, so we are making sure and asking the PSP, are you comfortable with putting your profile on this? If so, we actually expect that you can get quick results for us.
Because in the end, clients will submit, and you would need to answer and provide them the answers they need. Because in the end, look, the client would filter more PSPs, and he would have other options.
Yeah.
So if you wouldn't answer, someone else would answer first, and again, that's another impact of connections. Don't leave you with the one.
It's even easier to manage. You've got all of these applications
to manage. You can
exactly
submit a few emails, and the ones that are replying better and fast and creating with you the communication and trust.
Yeah, it's one nice thing about it. There's
not
just one option. There's multiple options. So we've got another question as well. After I contacted the PSP and it approved my KYC and compliant, how do I integrate with them? Maybe you can take this one, huh?
So you don't need to actually. Well, once you finish the KYC and all the compliance with the PSP, you got the credentials of processing.
Yeah.
You go to your BridgerPay account, BridgerPay admin. You push those credentials inside, adding this PSP into your Bridger, and that's it. It's already inside your checkout, and you can start processing with it.
Those are the ones that are actually live and integrated directly with us right now, right?
Sure, yeah.
Let's say we're talking about the ones that are on demand as well. So
so if it's on demand, once you are going into a process of obtaining a processing account with them, you're also letting us know, guys, I want to enable it on my Bridger.
Yeah, at which point as well, we have already that relationship. So we have, let's say, the API documentation. We've already done the assessment on it.
We can initiate it immediately. And
so we know that scope of work, let's say, that is required in order for this integration. So we're pretty efficient with being able to give a quick answer of, hey, yes, we can do this integration.
Yeah.
These are the terms, let's say,
And I think it's good that, we're not waiting for our clients to find us payment providers. We're continuously searching ourselves and adding, but we're not just adding, we're adding ones that are good and provide service that we can connect into Bridger with good APIs and sustainable.
The ultimate goal is, again, to have coverage over the whole world, but reasonable coverage, not 1 or 2 PSPs, to have as many PSPs as possible in every single region.
You have a lot of options. There are a lot of options in each region.
Absolutely.
And it's just getting, bigger and bigger every day.
And more complicated as well, let's say.
Some are more complicated than others, and other methods in different countries.
Yep.
But it's all a part of the game.
It is, exactly. A game that we aim to make a little bit more simple. I think we've got another question. No, Nir, thank you for your questions. Celine, thank you very much. Does anyone else want to ask anything before we finish up for the day? In fact, Ran, I've got a question for you. So wait, we have one more as well. It would be nice to be informed that in near future, maximum 6 months, you will be integrated with the PSP. So, okay, definitely. Yeah. I mean, as soon as, let's say, a merchant is interested in a PSP that is on demand, because we already have the API documentation, because we already have done an assessment of the scope of work, we pretty much already have a good idea of the time frame that is, that it will take
less
to
than
integrate.
6 months.
Yeah.
Once the client of us reached to a payment provider that is on demand, and started the process with him, and he alerts us, then we start the process of integration, and we pretty much finish together. So once you got your credentials, the payment provider is already integrated in Bridger. It takes us about 3 weeks to add a new payment provider.
Yeah, I think some cases it can be
some cases more, some more.
Exactly.
It really depends on the payment provider. But in the end, that's we come to the same goal where we are adding it to your environment.
Yeah.
And you could start using it
as soon as possible, basically, isn't it?
Obviously.
So before we finish up today, I do have one quick question for you. So Connections page has been known to be your baby, around the office here.
Yes.
I want to know, Ran, is there any other babies that you're working on that you can share with me?
Wow. So yes, there is a baby. There is a baby. I think we will speak about it in our next event.
Okay, amazing. So on the next webinar.
It's on the next webinar.
Oh,
we are
brilliant.
working on it for
one of the next webinars.
Around a year and a half now.
Amazing. Okay.
It's not actually working. It's thinking of it in our minds for a long time, but we actually did it in the end. Once we did it, we figured out, oh my God, it's amazing. At least that's what we feel.
Okay.
And we would be very much interested to hear what people would say about it.
Mm-hmm.
We've basically created a new way to pay.
Interesting. Okay. You have my attention.
People today are very much used to a single checkout experience where they come to a checkout and pay whatever they pay, buy whatever they buy with a single payment provider.
Okay, yeah.
So we are going to introduce a new way to pay. We'll keep it for the event.
Definitely have my attention.
I think we should do it. We will probably do it in the next few weeks, and yeah, very much.
Interesting. Very interesting.
We'll be happy to see you all in that event, and we'll show you what.
If any of you do have any extra questions, feel free to get in touch with either of us. Absolutely, and definitely keep an eye out for the next webinar. Hopefully, we can find out more about this next baby of Rant. Cool. Had, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Have a great day, guys. Cheers.
All right.